Cause when that trumpet sound, boy, you don't wanna miss out. Either in or you out, ain't no straddling the fence. Either in or you out, ain't no straddling the fence. Either in or you out, ain't no straddling the fence. Either in the Lord or you out the Lord. Either in or you out, ain't no straddling the fence. Either in or you out, ain't no straddling the fence. Either in or you out, ain't no straddling the fence. Either in the Lord or you out.
Yes, sir. Shabbat shalom.
Busy shalom, Mark.
How you feeling, Hebrew?
Man, feeling good like a Hebrew should.
Our praises.
All right, so got some current events on today. You still got them wars brewing over there with America and Iran and a bunch of other spots. So let's see what's building up over there.
Yes, sir.
Studio 5 conversation with Brutus Charles, who could win a Grammy Award this weekend for Best Gospel Songwriter, even though he never saw himself as a writer. Plus, with another major storm bearing down on parts of the U.S., we'll see how some children in Tennessee used last weekend's storm to have some fun in the ice and snow. These stories and much more today on Newswatch.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Hey homeowners, if you're thinking about selling, watch this before filling out any other forms, okay? This offer isn't for everyone.
And we begin in the Middle East, where tensions are intensifying with warships moving into position. Still, President Trump says he's planning to talk with Tehran. And Iranian leaders are warning they'll retaliate if the U.S. strikes. CBN News Middle East correspondent Joshua Swanson brings us the story from Jerusalem.
Another U.S. Navy destroyer, the USS Delbert D. Black, is now operating in Middle East waters, bringing the total number of American destroyers in the area to 6, along with an aircraft carrier and additional combat ships. The buildup comes as Iran reportedly received a new shipment of 1,000 drones and prepares for the possibility of direct confrontation. Iranian military leaders are openly threatening U.S. forces, warning that any American strike would be met without delay. The IRGC Army spokesman said on state television a decisive response will be delivered instantly, adding that U.S. bases and aircraft carriers are within the range of our medium-range missiles. At the same time, President Trump says he's had conversations with Iran and is planning more. The president also pointed to the growing U.S. military presence, saying the United States has a lot of very big, very powerful ships sailing to Iran right now, adding that it would be great if they were not used. In Jerusalem, Israeli leaders are preparing for the possibility of another conflict with Iran. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held a high-level security consultation on what officials described as a classified topic. Reports say the briefing focused on the possibility of a U.S. strike, along with concerns that Israel could face significant retaliation. The Israeli Mossad chief, David Barnea, is in Washington meeting with top U.S. officials amid conflicting signals over U.S. readiness to act. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says the U.S. military is fully prepared to carry out President Trump's decision. Speaking during a cabinet meeting, Hegseth warned Iran against pursuing nuclear weapons.
Should not pursue nuclear capabilities. We will be prepared to deliver whatever this president expects of the War Department.
He added that the administration is focused on restoring deterrence and making clear that warnings should be taken seriously.
When President Trump said we're not getting a nuclear Iran, you won't have a nuclear bomb, he meant it. And we sent those B-2s halfway around the world, and they never noticed.
Adding to the pressure on Tehran, the European Union has now designated Iran's Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist organization, citing its violent crackdown on protesters.
In Iran, horrific crackdown on protesters has come at the heavy.
What do you think about that, Vern?
Man, it's just crucial. And then did you catch what they said at the end about they? So it sounded like we basically trying to label them terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they did in Venezuela. They label you a terrorist, then they come get you.
Yeah, but see, we've been calling them that at least since 9/11.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? An act of terror, what they called it. But you know.
So that seemed like one of their tactics to go ahead and initiate something.
Mm-hmm. Me and Vern were just talking about that. I think before Trump reign is over with, I think they're gonna teeter top with war. Next year, I believe, is the election year for the president election, and I think before he get up out of here, I think he's gonna go to war and declare martial law. Because now Trump did say he was the last president, so we got to take it for what he said, because it looked like it may be true.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a lot of escalation happening.
Yeah, it's a slow build up for sure.
What was that about Obama?
Oh, that's gonna be the last. I got one. I got another. This one right here is basically the reason why I probably said the slow build up to that martial law with this immigration war they got going on over here. So that's why I think it's gonna be a slow build up for him to be able to declare martial law, especially on the so-called U.S. soil. So let's see what they got on this, or what they talking about on this right here.
What began as protest against immigration enforcement has spiraled into scenes that many on the ground describe as a war zone. Outside the Bishop Henry Whipple Federal Building in St. Paul, Minneapolis, tensions exploded as anti-ICE demonstrators confronted federal agents face to face. In one widely shared video, a protester is heard openly calling for violence against law enforcement, urging others to fight back and take up weapons, language that has shocked viewers and raised serious alarm. Fight back! As night fell, the situation escalated rapidly. Fireworks were launched toward ICE officers. Federal agents moved in formation, and chaos followed. According to eyewitnesses, protesters grabbed ammunition magazines that were accidentally dropped by an ICE agent, triggering an aggressive federal response to secure the area, recover the magazines, and make arrests. Tear gas, flashbangs, pepper balls, smoke bombs. Federal police unleashed a barrage of crowd control, forcing protesters to scatter through downtown streets. AP video shows bystanders blowing whistles, chanting shame, as agents in gas masks pushed through the crowd, deploying tear gas to break it apart. The flashpoint came just days after the fatal shooting of Renee Good, a 37-year-old mother of three, by an ICE officer only blocks away. That death has ignited protests not only in Minneapolis, but across.
Yeah, it's escalating, and you know they're just going. It's like they on tour. They're going from city to city. They coming to Indianapolis next. They're gonna be at the Marriott.
Yeah, they here now.
Huh?
They here now.
They here.
Yeah, they here now. You know, a couple of the schools in the city went on the students went on an ICE protest yesterday.
Mm.
Yeah.
They got the students protesting?
the students is protesting. They walked out. They synchronized their clocks or whatever, and was protesting, huh? So yeah, you know what I'm saying. So we didn't got word yesterday when it was while I was at work, and I was trying to figure out. I was like, man, what they over there doing out west? And then I found out they was trying to keep it under wraps. Because the news has a radio for the police department, so they can hear when certain calls come out. So when you hear about a shooting out on a certain location, you wonder how the news get the news so quick, because they got a radio connected with the police.
They both sharing it back and forth.
Yeah, they can't respond to anything, but they have a radio to know what's going on in the city or at a school or anything like that for them to get where they got to get to. All right, so this last one, I just found out before we got online. Man, why I keep hitting the wrong button? Apparently President Trump where's it? President Trump is ordering for the arrest of Obama. So let's see what they talking about. Can you see it up?
It's coming up, yo.
Willie D Live.
What's up, family? Donald Trump, your president, is once again targeting Barack Obama, this time calling for his arrest. In a post shared to Truth Social, Trump accused the former president of personally ordering U.S. intelligence agencies to manufacture false information tied to the Russia investigation, labeling it a coup attempt against his presidency. Yeah, fam. And this dude is serious. At first, people were like, oh man, that's preposterous, man. We just dismiss it. But the way that he's been stretching his authority and outright just illegally arresting people, who knows? This is something we thought we might never see. Imagine Barack Obama being arrested. We didn't think that they would arrest Don Lemon, especially after a judge refused to sign an arrest warrant.
This game, you're not ready for it.
We ain't never had these ads pop up during the show.
But they did it anyway. They did it anyway. After a judge refused to sign the order, they did it anyway. Barack could end up in jail. This is real. Family. Here is the post that Trump put up on his failed Truth Social network. Breaking: Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has just released hundreds of bombshell Russiagate documents proving that Barack Obama personally ordered CIA agents to manufacture false intelligence on President Trump and was actively working with the enemy to undermine and erode Americans' confidence in our democracy and President Trump's landslide 2016 victory. This was a coup attempt by Barack Hussein Obama and his cronies. As Jesse Walters said, whatever happens to these guys is not revenge, it's accountability. And it's time for people to pay the price. arrest Obama now. So you know when he typically goes on these type of rants, people get arrested. When he say arrest him, they arrest him. Even when they try to first arrest him, if at first they don't succeed, they will try and try again until they get an arrest.
All right, that's enough on that.
Just so you know, for the record.
Man, one thing I noticed about that is, you know, they say it's not about revenge, but let's keep it 100. But that just show you, they'll sit there, shake each other's hands, sit down, smile with each other, you know, and be secretly trying to hit each other over the head the whole time.
We was reading about John the Baptist today. He called them vipers.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey.
Straight snakes, man.
Like that song, they smile in your face, the backstabbers. The
backstabbers, for real, bro, because it's like, you know, just the nature of some snakes, you know, or some crabs in a barrel, just always trying to pull the next person down. And it's like, but that's why the scripture speaks so much about the company you keep, you know. Like all through the scriptures, like I think folks ain't really taking it to heart what they telling you. You know, all through the scriptures is telling you about the company you keep. And I think we gotta also consider the fields of work we in. Like with them politics, man, it just get messy.
Mm-hmm. Straight up.
But was that the last video you had out?
That was it. That was the current event.
Man, that's wild. If they arrest Trump, if they arrest Obama, that's showing you what time it is. Ain't nobody safe, boy.
Nobody.
Well, shoot, all right, we can keep it pushing. We're jumping into, you know, right back into what we're speaking on. We're speaking on the Mashiyach's doctrine. So we went through, you know, we kind of started off, you feel me, what was the Mashiyach's doctrine. And I'm going to jump here in Matthew chapter 26. In Matthew chapter 26. And it reads at verse 1 and 2, it says, "And it came to pass when Yahushua had finished all these sayings, he said unto his disciples, Ye know that after 2 days is the feast of Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified." So this is the Mashiach talking and letting the people know that, hey, I gotta get crucified. So, you know, some folks may not believe in the crucifixion or in the cross symbol or whatever. Like, one thing about it, we don't worship no cross, but when you first come into the Hebrew walk, you know, everything that is anything close to Christianity, it's like you reject and you super like on guard because you like, dang, I've been lied to so much, so you don't want nothing to do with nothing. So you sit there and be like, man, he couldn't have been hung on no cross. You know, like you kind of confused on certain things. And then, you know, the verses was talking about he was hung on a tree. You know, there's a lot of confusion that happened. But I think we ain't really been taught exactly what the crucifixion was and where it came from. But we see right here that the doctrine of the Messiah is he had to be crucified. And he knew it was going to be during the Passover. Like he knew his office and he knew who he was.
Yeah.
And look at, I got a few verses, but just to look at a couple of them.
All right.
at Mark 15 and let's say Mark 15 and start at 6. Mark 15 and start at 6. And it reads, now at that feast he released unto them one prisoner whomsoever they desired. So that's talking about Pilate. And there was one named Barabbas, which lay bound with them that had made instruction with him, who had committed murder in the insurrection. And the multitude crying aloud began to desire him to do as he had ever done unto them. But Pilate answered them, saying, will ye that I release unto you the king of the Yahudim? For he knew that the chief priest had delivered him for envy. But the chief priest moved the people that he should rather release Barabbas unto them. And Pilate answered and said again unto them, what will ye then that I should do unto him, whom ye call the king of the Yahudim? And they cried out again, crucify him. Then Pilate said unto them, why, what evil hath he done? And they cried out the more exceedingly, crucify him. And so Pilate, willing to content the people, released Barabbas unto them and delivered Yahushua when he had scourged him to be crucified. So that's what they was hollering to do. And the crucifixion, that's capital punishment. That's a death sentence. He asking them, what y'all want, who y'all want me to let go? This madman, murderer, or somebody y'all claiming said blasphemy, but where the blasphemy at? And they like, man, crucify him.
Yeah,
man, and that's a death sentence.
Yeah, but it had to be done.
It did have to be done, and so. I think that going on what we're speaking about last week was, the Father and the Son, right? So I think all folks need to really kind of realize or just, think about, right? If the Messiah is praying and he's teaching that you shouldn't have no self-idolatry, right? If he's the Father and the Son office, how is he gonna get around that? Because if I pray to myself, ain't that idolatry up? So or schizophrenic, and he was perfect without blemish. So I highly doubt he was schizophrenic. But not only that, the main thing is the will. You don't want to take away the fact that he had will. He had the complete will and option to say, man, I ain't gonna do it. Like we said, it might have been some consequences for that, but he had free will. You see what I'm saying? Like he had free will, and he showed that when he prayed, hey, take this cup away from me. The Most High was just not about to take the cup away from him, but showing if he didn't have free will, why pray about it?
Great.
So a couple of other verses that speak on it outside of the New Testament in Psalms 22. Psalms 22, 16 through 18. Hold on, okay, you pulling it up. Yep, Psalms 22, 16 through 18.
Yes,
and it reads, for dogs have compassed me. All right. And so keep in mind, this is the Psalms or the Tahalim of Daoud, King David. So what a lot of folks need to realize is David was prophesying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, David was prophesying, and he knew what was going on. Like, he wasn't just reading the scripts at a surface level and understanding things at a certain level. He was really having that relationship. So even with him looking at his position, he knew the significance of what he represented. So here he is prophesying. Can you pull that up? And it says, "For dogs have compassed me," and you know, dogs is like heathens or other nations. It says, "The assembly of the wicked," or those who is living like heathens and Gentiles.
Yep.
It says, "Having closed me, they pierced my hands and my feet." So, you know, this is the Old Testament. This ain't happened yet, and David didn't have this happen to him. So who are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I may tell all my bones, they look and stare upon me. They part my garments among them," and that happened.
Yep.
"And cast lots upon my vesture, but be thou not far from me, O Yahuwah, O my strength. Haste thee to help me. Deliver my soul from the sword, my darling from the power of the dog." All right, so that's cool on that. But just want to show, they said they pierced his hands and his feet. The dog encompassed him. So this is all prophetic. Isaiah 53, 5-7. Isaiah 53, 5-7. And it say, "But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed." It say, "All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and Yahuwah hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so he openeth not his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living. He was killed. For the transgression of my people was he stricken." So, you know, that is the purpose why it had to happen. And if the Messiah is the master teacher, which he is, and he quoted from Yashayahu plenty, I think he would know this scripture and know that this relate to him. So, you know, that's the purpose why this had to happen to him. But I don't think a lot of us really appreciate the crucifixion. So can you run that video? I'm about to run it over here too. So
okay,
so
let me stop sharing.
Hey, we got to run the video, man. Dang, what's they talking about?
Hold on. Got it playing. Hold on.
I'm gonna wait for you. So you hear what this about, Mel?
Yeah.
It's about the crucifixion.
Let me pull it back up, Bob.
And this was the capital punishment that was going on. So this is like somebody getting sent to the electric chair or getting lethal injection.
Mm-hmm.
Intense and graphic.
And they're about to break it all the way down.
In the year 71 before Christ, travelers on the Via Appia to Rome witnessed a gruesome sight. From Capua to the gates of the Eternal City, 6,000 crosses lined both sides of the road. On each hung a man, some already dead, others still struggling for their last breath. This terrifying scene stretched for a full 200 kilometers. Anyone who saw it knew that defying Rome was not worth the risk. The crucified wretches were slaves who had taken part in Spartacus's uprising. After its downfall, those who survived were used to send a warning to other subjects of Rome. And that was the primary purpose of crucifixion, to send a message that any opposition to the empire would end mercilessly for the rebels. Crucifixion was a tool of propaganda. To maximize its effectiveness, the Romans devised a punishment that had to be prolonged and extremely painful. Some of the crucified hung for many days before they died. Moreover, their bodies were not taken down from the cross. They remained there until they completely decomposed or were consumed by wild animals, birds, and insects. For many months, the Via Appia, the main artery of the Roman Empire, was quite literally a road of death. The Romans did not invent this cruel form of execution. It likely reached them through the Carthaginians or the Greeks. There are records indicating that Alexander the Great used it. However, this form of execution had already been practiced earlier by the Assyrians, Babylonians, and Persians. Today, crucifixion is most strongly associated with Rome due to two main reasons: the widespread use of this execution method during the Roman Empire and the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, who is now revered by approximately 2.6 billion Christians worldwide. Over the centuries, thousands of people were crucified. Executions took place in various locations with different access to wood and under different circumstances. As a result, there was no single method. Crucifixion was carried out in multiple ways using different types of crosses. The choice of cross type could depend on local customs, practical considerations, and the level of cruelty intended for the condemned. The simplest form of the cross was the crux simplex, a single vertical stake to which the condemned was tied or nailed. More complex was the crux commissa, resembling a large letter T, where the horizontal beam, patibulum, was attached to the top of the vertical post. Another type was the crux emissa, known from Christian iconography. It had the crossbeam placed slightly below the top, allowing for a plaque to be positioned above the condemned's head. There was also the crux decussata, an X-shaped cross often associated with St. Andrew. In some cases, the crux subcellium was used, featuring a small seat that prolonged the agony of the condemned. Occasionally, people were even nailed to trees instead of constructed crosses. So, there were many types of crosses. In the year 70 after Christ, when the Romans besieged the rebellious Jerusalem, Josephus wrote, "The soldiers, out of rage and boredom with the massacre, began crucifying the captured in various ways for variety, until there was no more space or wood left. Iron nails were used to fasten the condemned to the cross. However, In some cases, the victim was tied with rope instead. This method prolonged their suffering, as they did not lose blood as quickly. Very few nails from executions have survived to this day, which is surprising given how widespread this form of punishment was. However, there are several explanations for this. First, iron was a valuable resource, so nails were likely reused multiple times or melted down. Second, it was believed that these nails possessed magical properties, leading people to take them and keep them as amulets. Since there was no single method of execution, nails were driven into different parts of the body. In some cases, even the condemned person's genitals were pierced, as described by Seneca the Younger. I see crosses there, not just of one kind, but made in different ways. Some are meant to be hung upside down, others have their genitals pierced. For others, their arms are stretched out on the crossbeam. When nails were driven into the hands, there were 3 common locations for placement. The first was the center of the palm. However, this location did not guarantee that the body would remain secured. The bones in this area were too weak to support the weight of the condemned, which could lead to the tearing of tissue. In such cases, the victim was also tied with ropes for additional support. This method was depicted in Mel Gibson's film, The Passion of the Christ. The second location was the wrist. The bones here were strong enough to support the weight of the condemned. The third method involved driving the nail into the lower part of the forearm, between the radius and ulnar bones, which also ensured stable attachment to the cross. Additionally, when nails were driven through the wrist or lower forearm, they damaged the median nerve, causing intense pain and triggering a contraction of the thumb. This is likely why the victim's thumbs are not visible on the Shroud of Turin, as the median nerve would have been damaged by nailing through the wrists. The wrist and forearm locations avoided major arteries, preventing rapid blood loss. We know that suicides sometimes cut their wrists to bleed out quickly, but the Romans aimed to prolong the victim's agony. Their methods were designed to avoid damaging arteries, and driving a nail through the central part of the wrist did not sever a major artery. When it came to nailing the feet to the cross, different methods were used, depending on the number of nails and the placement. In some cases, both feet were placed on top of each other and pierced with a single nail. This effectively immobilized the condemned and limited their ability to push up, accelerating death by asphyxiation. Another method involved nailing each foot separately with individual nails. This allowed for a greater range of movement, potentially leading to prolonged suffering. It was also possible to use a wooden footrest, to which the feet were nailed. This allowed the condemned to support their body weight for a longer period, significantly extending their agony. Nails most commonly pierced the midfoot, ensuring a strong attachment to the cross. However, in some cases, the heels were also pierced. A remarkable example of this was discovered in 1968 in Jerusalem, where the skeleton of a crucified man, known as Jehohanan, was found. An over 11 centimeter, approximately 4.3-inch nail was still embedded in his heel from the side, with its end bent. This deformation likely prevented its removal before the body was placed in the tomb. It is believed that this man's feet were positioned apart and nailed to the sides of the cross. This straddling position would have caused extreme tension in the hips and knees, leading to faster exhaustion. Piercing the heel would have resulted in excruciating pain with every attempt to lift oneself, further restricting the ability to breathe. Depending on their intentions, the Romans could either accelerate or prolong the condemned person's death. If they wanted to extend the agony, they might use ropes instead of nails. Sometimes they added the previously mentioned seat or footrest, which made breathing easier for the victim. However, if they sought to hasten death, the most common method was breaking the victim's legs. This involved crushing the lower legs with a club or an iron hammer. Once the legs were broken, the condemned could no longer push themselves up to breathe, leading to rapid suffocation. Some victims were also scourged before crucifixion, which further weakened them and sped up their death. The position of the body on the cross was extremely uncomfortable and caused intense pain throughout the entire body. The condemned person's full weight rested on their pierced hands, leading to the stretching of the shoulder joints and potentially even dislocating the arms. Driving nails through the wrists or lower forearms damaged the median nerve, causing a searing, burning pain. Every attempt to push up on the feet to take a breath was equally excruciating, as the nails pierced the midfoot or heels, while the leg muscles quickly cramped and weakened. Additionally, the condemned hung in an unnatural position that restricted their ability to breathe, leading to shortness of breath and a growing sense of panic. The chest muscles and diaphragm gradually weakened, forcing the victim to continuously pull themselves up by their arms and straighten their legs to take in air. However, each attempt to lift themselves was unimaginably painful, as it tore the tissue around the wounds and caused even greater suffering. As time passed, the victim also experienced increasing muscle cramps, further preventing any movement. Crucifixion was one of the most agonizing and inhumane methods of execution ever used. Death by crucifixion could occur for various reasons. In many cases, it was due to asphyxiation caused by the progressive weakening of the respiratory muscles. Suspended on outstretched arms, the condemned gradually lost the ability to breathe effectively, as the chest remained unnaturally elevated, and the diaphragm could not function freely. If the victim had no support for their legs, death occurred more quickly, as they would completely collapse onto their shoulders and suffocate faster. Hypovolemic shock was another mechanism leading to death during crucifixion, resulting from excessive blood and fluid loss. This process began with a rapid drop in blood volume, causing a decrease in blood pressure. In response, the body activated compensatory mechanisms. The heart began to beat faster, trying to compensate for the blood loss and maintain oxygen supply to vital organs. At the same time, blood vessels in the limbs and skin constricted to redirect the remaining blood to the brain and heart. However, as the body's exhaustion progressed, the heart became unable to function effectively, failing to pump blood efficiently. The lack of oxygen led to brain hypoxia, resulting in confusion and loss of consciousness. Ultimately, the heart stopped beating, circulation ceased, and death followed. In extreme cases, death could result from infection and sepsis if the crucified person survived for more than a day. The open wounds from the nails and the lacerations from scourging could quickly become infected, leading to fever and organ failure. At this point, it is worth mentioning an interesting story recorded by Josephus. As I was returning, I saw many prisoners crucified, and among them, I recognized 3 of my acquaintances. My heart broke with grief, so I hurried to Titus to plead for their release. He immediately ordered them to be taken down and given the best medical care. Despite this, 2 of them died, while the 3rd survived. This passage highlights both the personal dimension of the tragedy and the brutal nature of crucifixion. A punishment so severe that survival was rare, even when the condemned was taken down from the cross and given medical care. Although there were quicker and less painful methods of execution, crucifixion served an entirely different purpose. It was a public spectacle of torture, designed to terrify, humiliate, and completely dehumanize the victim. This process was not limited to death on the cross, but involved an entire display of suffering, often beginning with brutal scourging that weakened the condemned and caused severe blood loss. Next, the victim was forced to carry their cross through the main streets of the city, not only to further exhaust them, but also to publicly humiliate them and serve as a warning to the crowd. Executions took place in highly visible public locations, ensuring that as many people as possible witnessed the event, reinforcing fear and the authority of Rome. Even the Romans themselves regarded crucifixion as the worst and most disgraceful punishment, reserved exclusively for slaves, rebels, and foreigners, not for Roman citizens. Moreover, crucifixion was not reserved solely for men. Romans also crucified women and children when they deemed it necessary. The purpose of crucifixion was not merely to execute the condemned, but to prolong their suffering as much as possible. Turning their agony into a gruesome spectacle meant to serve as a warning to society. The practice of crucifixion was officially abolished in 337 AD by Emperor Constantine the Great, the first Roman ruler to embrace Christianity. Thanks for listening to this analysis. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. You can also
Ooh-wee.
All right. What's your thoughts on that?
Hey, when they was talking about nailing right here,
they put some thought into that, didn't they?
Man, I felt it. Had a twitch in my hand.
Yeah, they sick, man.
They some wicked heathen bastards, boy.
Women, children, men. They said not their own, though. They said, listen, this is the worst type of treatment.
Man, it's so like they specialized in that.
Yeah, because and I don't know if you caught it, but they said they didn't even invent it, but they perfected it.
Boy.
They said the Assyrians did it, the Babylonians, even in Egypt sometimes, but they said when them Romans got a hold of it, they took it to the next level. That's all. We like this. We could get down with this.
And I didn't know that. What did he say? 6,000 along the roadway.
Yeah.
I think he said 6,000.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Man, so that mean they did that daily. Somebody got publicly humiliated every day.
Pretty much.
And then can you just imagine the stench?
I know.
In that city?
Yeah.
This smell like that. And then, them over there, they didn't wash up anyway, so it probably stunk 30 times worse than what it was. Man, that was crazy, man. But that's a good, man. I'll praise like that was a good find.
Yeah. I told her I'll praise the Most High because that one hit me, and we know the actors and stuff might not be their complexion, but just to see that happening to anybody, man.
Yeah, just to be a human and to see it done just to whoever.
Yeah.
Whatever the charge may have been. What? Hold on.
But another thing I noticed, was the reason why they was real big on standing on how they appeared. They want to be feared. They want to be big dog. They want to be, and like that's still the same people we dealing with today. It's just they cover it up.
Man, I was just thinking that when you hear Rome now, folks don't even talk about that. They just talk about, attractions that bring them money in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But they don't talk about that gruesome stuff.
Straight up.
That they tied to.
So I was gonna pick up here in Matthew 27, and I guess we can start at 27 and 27.
All right, hold on.
But you know, so for everybody out there with all these questions about, you know, should I believe in it? And the thing is, with the shape of the cross, we know that the shape of the cross that the Messiah was hung on, I know it was a lot of speculation. They show all the type of crucifixions they had. And the first one they showed was the Staros simplex. I think they called it. It was just a straight upright pole.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that was a form, but you know, that's probably not what he was hung on, right? He was most likely hung on the symbol that everybody's used to seeing, the T-type cross. But as you see, they showed you where the purpose for having those was to put the plaque on top.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's pick up here in Matthew 27 and 27.
We there.
And it reads, Then the soldiers of the governor took Yahushua into the common hall and gathered unto him the whole band of soldiers, and they stripped him and put on him a scarlet robe. And when they had platted a crown of thorns, so already they put some thorns on his head.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that hurts, right? You know, they put it on their snub. But what this was also showing us was he's symbolic of the lamb and the ram. And we know that, remember he told them Pharisees, he said, even before Abraham, I would. He said, I am. Mm-hmm. And they said, you ain't even 50 years old. You didn't live to see Abraham's day. He said, even before Abraham, I am. He said, I did see his day.
Mm-hmm.
So when he was in that, when Abraham looked up and seen that ram in the thick, this is what this symbolized. The ram was caught up in a thorn bush. Yeah. So here we see the symbology again. They put a crown of thorns on his head. They put it upon his head and a reed in his right hand, and they bowed the knee before him and mocked him, saying, Hail, King of the Yahudim. So they mocking him, you know, making fun of him. It says, and they spit on him and took the reed and smote him on the head. They was beating him. And after that, they had mocked him. They took the robe off of him and put his own raiment on him and led him away to crucify him. And as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by name. Him they compelled to bear his cross. So, you know, I know a lot of folks is like, well, I read this book, Two Babylons. Have you ever heard of that?
Two Babylon?
Yeah, I think it's a book called The Two Babylons or something. But it speaks about how, you know, the Messiah was crucified on a tree and not a cross, right? I believe that's the book. But see, it'd be misconceptions like that that just I think so, yup. I ain't never seen that figure on the front, but that's the title, yeah, The Two Babylons.
What it look like when you seen it?
I think it was just some blue letters or something, or some black letters. But it speak about that, and I think it got a lot of good information about like some paganism and stuff, but some things probably go left.
So this is probably one that you've seen, huh?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, it's pretty.
This one looks familiar. I may have this one.
Yeah, it's pretty popular.
Yeah, I may have that one.
But you know, in that video they showed that yeah, some people did get hung on trees, but this part right here, let us know that it wasn't no tree in the ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are they talking about? Because it said, and as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by name. Him they compelled to bear his cross. So how he gonna bear up a whole tree?
Right.
But see, they're saying when they say he was hung to a tree, a cross is made out of wood. A tree is what you get wood from. So it's still all the same. It's still all the truth.
Yeah.
He was hung on a cross made from a tree.
And I'll say too how they back then, how they explained it, of what they knew how to explain it. You hear me doing something? Ask your brother. Yes, who can I? Go ahead,
So pick up at verse 33. It says, and when they were come unto a place called Golgotha, that is to say, a place of a skull. So it was shaped like a skull. It says they gave him vinegar to drink mingled with gall, and when he had tasted thereof, he would not drink. He spit it out. He like, this is some piss and some poison.
Mm-hmm.
It says, and they crucified him and parted his garments, casting lots. Wasn't that just in Psalms 22? It says that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots. See, we just read that in Psalms 22, and we just told y'all that David was a prophet.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so you can't listen to everybody because I was talking to somebody, David ain't no prophet, he was a king. You can be a prophet and a king.
Up there.
At verse 36, it says, and sitting down, they watched him and set up over his head his accusation written, this is Yahushua, the king of the Yahudim. So that right there give us insight on what type of crucifixion he had too, because the video we just watched, they showed us the cross where they put the plaque over his head, and the scriptures attesting to that's what they did. They set up over his head accusation written, this is Yahushua, king of the Yahudim. Then were there two thieves crucified with him, one on the right hand and the other on the left. And they passed by reviled. It says, and they that passed by reviled him, wagging their heads and saying, thou that destroyest the temple and buildest it up in 3 days, save thyself. As also the chief priest mocking him. So you in the middle of dying and they mocking you.
Mm-hmm.
You can't breathe. Your nerves is ripped up in your hands. You didn't live a peaceable life and they mocking you. It says, with the scribes and the elders said, he saved others. Himself he cannot save. If he be the king of Yasharal, let him now come down from the cross and we will believe him. He trusted in Elohim. Let him deliver him now, if he will have him. For he said, I am the son of Elohim, and the thieves also which were crucified with him cast the same in his teeth. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness all over the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour, Yahushua will cry with a loud voice, saying, Ali, Ali, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my all, why have thou forsaken me? So David said in Psalms 22, he was cut off from the land of the living, right?
Yep.
He wasn't just cut off from the land of the living, he was cut off from the presence of the Father.
Mm-hmm.
He said, my all, why have you forsaken me? To be taken from the Father is to be cast out. You was put out of the camp. See, all these things that we've been reading and talking about, that this is the real symbolism behind it. This is what death looked like. Getting cut, he got cut off from the Father.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't even have to go that route. but he shouldn't have had to go that route because he didn't do nothing wrong.
Right.
What you think about that, Hawk?
Hey, that's nothing but facts, huh?
That's facts.
It's nothing but facts, you know.
That's straight facts. It say at 47, it say some of them that stood there when they heard that said, "This man calleth for Elias," and straightway none of them ran and took a sponge, or one of them ran and took a sponge filled with vinegar, put it on a reed, and gave him to drink. The rest said, let us see if Elias will come to save him. Yahushua, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielding up the ghost, and behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent, and the graves were open. So you got to imagine, they do this all day, all the time, crucifying folk. But this time, it went down.
Yes, sir.
It said, and the graves were open, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose and came out of the graves after his resurrection and went into the holy city and appeared unto many. I don't hear nobody talking about this.
No,
and
sir.
Make it like where the movies about this part. See, they don't.
They cut it off right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the end of the movie.
Passion of Christ.
Passion of Christ. That was the end of the movie after you got crucified. Or they might have showed when he rose again.
Yeah, that was.
But that was it. They didn't show none of the actor effects of when he died, and this right here.
It said graves were opened, Doc.
Yeah.
And they went out, and the bodies of the saints which slept arose. So it's been resurrection power witnessed before.
Mm-hmm.
It's been resurrection power witnessed before. So, for the true believers, that's what the whole end hope is, right? That you be able to be regenerated, not just resurrected, but regenerated, because he got a new body for you this time around. But that's what the whole purpose is, to tighten up, to get right, so you could get converted.
Yeah.
But that's all I got for I just wanted to really look and see what was we talking about when we talk about this crucifixion, because the Messiah, he said, "Hey, look, I gotta go get crucified," and he went through with it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So yeah, he had to go and pray and say, "Hey, Abba, if it be your will, man, if you could just possibly take this cup from me, that'll be cool too."
Right.
What
is this? What is this absence that I'm feeling?
Yeah.
Go sit down. I won't come over here messing with me.
Boy.
Bad,
oh yeah, man. It put it in perspective for me, like,
man, for real. Like I said, that video right there, man, and then you finishing with what we just read, man. This lets you know that had to come to pass, and there's some other things that got to come to pass. We might as well do the next lesson on being crucified for his name's sake. All right.
Yup.
We might as well do that next.
Yup, and that's really what I wanted to head to too, Ox. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that, because we got the same spirit on that, because it speaks a lot about being crucified and persecuted for his righteousness' sake. And so once you see what he physically went through, I think figuratively and metaphorically, I think we could get through somebody throwing fiery darts with some words or some hate or some racism, as long as it ain't coming to hurt your physical. He literally went through all of that. They was mocking him while he in the middle of dying.
Yeah, and the lesson for the short legged today was John the Baptist. You know what I'm saying? He was beheaded.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, there's a lot of scripts that talk about our brothers and sisters being crucified or beheaded for the truth of the Most High and in the testament of the Messiah.
For sure.
Hey, so that's what it is, huh?
Well, all praises to the Most High, Aki, man. You know, good Shabbat Shalom to the Mishpach worldwide.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we will catch y'all next time, man. We appreciate y'all, you know, tuning in these Babylon Street Shabbat. Listen.
Yes, sir. Shalom, family.